joining us. Thank you for joining us this evening for a 30-minute virtual meet and greet with my brother, who's running for the U.S. Senate, who I believe will be our next U.S. Senator. My name is David Clark. I'm a state representative here in Georgia. I've served 7 years, it'll be 8 years coming up. And I'm just excited to be all in supporting my brother. I can tell you after serving almost 8 years that more than ever, we need guys who are absolutely genuine, who are real, who want to serve, and also to know who these candidates are. And I can tell you, I've known my brother over 35 years now. And he's a role model of mine. He's somebody I look up to. He's somebody that I truly idolize. And I've seen him in his good moments, his bad moments. And he is someone that we absolutely need in the U.S. Senate. And, you know, so much in politics, we have candidates who run, who have a great message, a great video. They go raise all this money. They make all these promises, but no one knows who they truly are, how they live their lives, and if they're being real or they're being fake. And I can tell you myself, I've served almost 10 years in the military, served overseas. Multiple of my brothers have served overseas in combat also with me. And I can tell you more than ever, you know, outside our country, whether it be foreign policy, our enemies who don't respect us now, and then also inside our country with the turmoil, the divide, we need somebody like my brother, Josh Clark. So I'm just excited to be introducing him. These next 30 minutes, you'll get to know who he is and the man he is. And Josh, I'm just proud to call you a brother, a role model, a best friend, and I'm excited to help you win the primary in May. So take it away.
Thank you so much, David. It means so much to have you join us today, and thank you for taking time out to serve as our host and for the kind introduction. You're an American hero. When I listen to "Proud to be an American," you know, I think about you and 4 of our brothers on each side that have served. And David, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for how you served our country in multiple capacities and in so many ways. Thank you. Y'all, I hope that you feel the sense of pride that I do when you hear that song, "Proud to be an American." In fact, you know, I don't know if I should admit this in front of my, you know, brother who's served and re-enlisted again, or second tour, but it's okay. It's okay to be emotional and to admit that to him when it's about our country, because he and I both shed tears and get emotional about this beautiful country. And I thank you so much for being here and that you care enough to take time out of your Sunday afternoon. Some of you may have heard that there is a celebrity in this race. I just want to right from the front, want to let you know that's not me. Haven't won a Heisman Trophy, can't run the 40-yard dash in 4 seconds. But I am a patriot like all of you. And I know that you are, otherwise you wouldn't be taking time day after Christmas to find out who's in this race, who's running to serve for the next 6 years in the Senate, who's going to help take back the Senate. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about, over the next few minutes, who I am, why I'm running, what are the issues, and why I humbly believe that I am the only one that has the energy to win and has the experience to deliver on day one. So first, a little bit about me. I grew up in Suwanee, Georgia, as the oldest of 10 children. And so I can tell you, never a dull moment. There was seven boys and 3 girls. And my father was a pastor. My mother was a teacher who homeschooled, chose to use that degree to homeschool us older ones. And as I like to say, we were the poor that the poor talked about. And one of the things, though, that we were rich in was, and I was so blessed with, was family values and learning about hard work and faith in God and service to country. I loved history, learning about our founding fathers, and I learned how to serve at an early age. And the reason for that is something that I'm so sorry my mother had to go through this, but it was good for me. It's good for me. My mother has 1 kidney, no spleen, and missing an adrenal from a sledding accident. And so her health took a downward turn, a downward spiral. And for many years, she was very, very sick, very low energy. Her 1 kidney was beginning to fail. And so as the oldest, you know what that meant. It meant that my mother had already raised us, our parents had already raised us, that life isn't about what you can get, life is about, this short life down here is about how much can you give. And so it was instilled, it was drilled into us. It's no wonder that so many, all of our siblings have served in different capacities and all. And so when my mother's health took a turn, I had to step up and be that second mother in the family and help put the kids to bed and get them up and all that. I didn't get to play sports. So, I didn't have a chance to even try to be that football star. We all love sports, but that was a privilege, right? Playing sports is a privilege. And it was one of those things that A, we didn't have the money for, and B, we didn't have the time for. So, but again, I was blessed to learn to serve and work hard and learn how to pinch a penny. I still today, I don't walk past a penny knowingly without stopping to pick it up. And that's a habit that I started as a teenager. I believed that if I wasn't faithful in the little things, that I couldn't be faithful in the bigger things. And so again, things I'm so grateful for, and that was rich in, even though we were quite poor. After I grew up, I started a business. In fact, I started multiple businesses, but the business I started at 18 years old, by God's grace, continues to thrive today. And I married my childhood sweetheart, Chelsea, who you're going to hear from in a little while. I'm so grateful that she's a part of this. We're doing this as a family, as a team. It takes everybody to undertake this kind of a service. So you'll hear from her in a little while. But anyhow, I fast forward a little bit, built that business. When I wasn't building my business, I was serving, helping to elect conservatives, constitutional conservatives, people who understood the limited role of government right out of high school. In fact, when I got out of high school, the state of Georgia was blue. It was Democrat. They had controlled our state for over 100 years. And we had 2 Democrat U.S. senators. Democrats controlled the state house, the state senate. And so I got to work because, again, I loved history. I loved learning about our founding fathers. And I felt like when the righteous rule, the people would rejoice. In other words, when the righteous are in office, when you elect people who understand what it means to be an American, what it means to serve, what it means to give back, I felt like it could make all the difference in the world. So in my 20s, it kept me out of trouble. Not only a great upbringing that I was blessed with, but working hard, getting married early, building businesses, and then serving. And so I served in just about most capacities within the Republican Party, just as a volunteer, just volunteer work, never getting paid, just because this was important to me. So it was never a ambition of mine to be in office. I thought I would be the guy who would help encourage other people to run, support them. But at the age of 30, I ran for public office. I was, in fact, I had a friend challenge me and asked me to consider running for office. And I told him I would think about it and pray about it for a month. Halfway through that month, I decided I wasn't going to run because we just had so much going on in our life. We're headed to Bolivia the next year, learn Spanish as a family and serve. And anyway, a whole bunch of reasons, but I said no, and then ended up realizing that I hadn't prayed about it yet. That was my own selfish desires was not to step up as I had challenged others. Long story short, my wife and I, we reconsidered, we prayed about it, and we both realized this is something we were supposed to do. Now, at 30 years old, it was a huge challenge because I was running against who our state newspaper said would be the next governor. And so, looking back, I could see all of that was preparing me for this day, even though I never knew that, never realized it. But I ended up, we worked hard. We came together as a family. We came together as a team, and we ended up with 4 people in the race. We ended up winning by a landslide. And I ended up being elected and having the privilege of serving my state. Now, I talk about having the energy to win. As you'll hear from anybody who knows me, if I feel called to do something, I go all in. So we went all in. But I also talk about having the energy to win this U.S. Senate race and then having the experience to deliver. Let me tell you just a little bit about that experience. So, you can consider that. You can judge that. But when I got elected, I had the privilege of representing Gwinnett County in the Georgia House. And I passed things like I got to be a part of passing the fetal pain bill in 2012. I want to tell you about that for a moment. Georgia was in the top 5 states in the nation for the number of late-term abortions, sadly. And so, the first conversation I ever had with my mother, I'll never forget it. I asked my mother as a child, I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and I said, Mom, are we Republican or are we Democrat? And she had some words of wisdom that will always stick with me. She said, son, parties change, but principles remain. She said, we support the party that supports life. And then she went on to explain to me other things, like limited government and constitutional government, supporting Israel, and different things that are important to me. But I'll never forget that conversation. And then later on, as I learned the scriptures more, and as I learned about our Constitution more, I realized that for all those reasons, I was staunchly pro-life. In fact, when we read the Declaration of Independence, it said, it talks about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. First is life. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator. By who? The government? No, by the creator, with certain unalienable rights. Among them are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. By the way, if you get life right, you can be assured, generally speaking, in almost every case, you'll find when you study statistically, when somebody gets life right, they'll look out for your pocketbook. They'll look out for you in every other area. So that's important. So anyway, I was proud to be a part of that. Also, I've had the privilege of helping deliver balanced budgets, helping to cut taxes for Georgia, reducing state debt, and the Georgia Right to Life endorsed me with their highest endorsement. The NRA gave me also their highest ratings. I earned the Defender of Liberty Award for voting consistently with conservative principles. I also was proud to earn the Consumer Champion Award, working with Clark Howard to help clean up, help to put a stop to identity theft of minors, which is a huge problem. And so anyway, but I left though as a privilege serving. I love getting to serve my state, but I've always believed that public service should be for a season and not a lifetime career. So after 2 terms, I left and went back to private life, where I've been serving for the past 8 years as a corporate executive for an international direct sales company. And that's something I also have been doing, something that I believe in. Whatever I put my hand to is something, it's just kind of how I was raised. My mother had a huge impact on this. She'd always ask me, well, doing this or doing that, will it make the world a better place? Will it have an impact? So in fact, the nutritional products that turned her health around 29 years ago is the company that I've been an executive with for the last 8 years, something I believe in. But duty calls. And I didn't see this coming, but over the last 2 years, I have been especially burdened, as I'm sure you have, to see the direction that our country is going, see the challenges that we're facing. And it's kind of a long story, but I'm going to make this short. But over the course of beginning last year, just really concerned about watching freedom and liberty beginning to slip away. I'll never forget the words of Benjamin Franklin, who said that if we're willing to exchange our freedom and liberty for short-term security, we shall have nor deserve neither. And we've been watching that slipping away. We've also been watching a lack of civility. And Abraham Lincoln, I'll never forget his first speech at 26 years old, where he said that this country won't fall from external forces from without. If it falls, it'll be from us turning on each other from within. So anyway, as I have just had sleepless nights praying for this nation, I felt the Lord just speaking to me, saying, you're not done with politics. And it was quite crazy when that happened. It's like a switch flip. My heart changed, and I told my wife, I said, I don't think my time serving is over after all, even though I thought it was. I thought I'd get to support people like my brother, David, to go on and serve. But I think we've all got to be willing to put aside our plans, the things that we want out of life. Like we were headed, again, just so happens again, we were headed this time to Costa Rica. We do missions over there and take families, and we serve together, and we were planning on going over there for a year, and a lot of other things that are part of our next 5 years. And this wasn't part of it. But you know what? I'm absolutely now all in on this, because I believe there will not be a country to pass to our children, our grandchildren, if we don't step up when we're called to do that, when duty calls. So, although let me tell you something, this is going to be for a season and not a lifetime career again. In fact, first thing I did, and I'm proud of this, was sign the term limit pledge. because I believe, again, that I need to go to Washington, go make a difference, be able to tell my children that, I did something. When I saw this country under attack, when I saw our liberties under attack, I did something. I didn't just sit by and watch it, complain about it. I rolled up my sleeves and I went to work. And so that's why I'm just so grateful that you're here too, because you're watching this, because apparently you realize that we are in a crossroads right now. We've got to step up. So anyway, back to the story of me running. I later on, again, I thought it would be years down the road. I didn't realize it was going to be this year. And then my wife and I were on a date night. We're talking about how fast our country was changing. And all of a sudden I felt convicted, and I realized that I had not even considered, should I be running now? And so we spent then a period of time praying about this. We asked our pastor to pray. We asked our family to be praying that if God wanted us to, that we'd be willing to disrupt our plans and to step up. And it was crazy what ended up happening. I mean, absolutely crazy, the stuff you write in a book. But we knew in the end, I won't get into all those details, but we knew that we had to step up, or I would be guilty and I would not be an example of what I've challenged my children, that the power of one person can make a difference. I've also coached every sport with my 6 children. This past couple of years, I've been coaching nearly 75 kids in cross country and challenging them in the devotions before our practices. And they've heard me say it so many times about the power of one and believing that we can make a difference, that we can change the world. And so, again, I'm stepping up because we've got to do that. We're in a time where we need men and women to put their comfort aside, put their plans aside, and step up and serve. What are some of the issues? Well, you can go to my website and you can learn more about. In fact, we got a big upgrade coming here any day now. But some of the issues, the top 3 issues for me is freedom. You've heard me talk about that, right? Freedom is not passed to the next generation, our bloodstream. It's got to be defended. It's got to be fought for, just like my brothers, 4 of them, right on the front lines of Afghanistan. We've got to, so freedom, I mean, with these vaccine mandates, there are so many examples of watching our freedom eroding literally in front of our eyes. We've got to remind Americans that people have given their life for this. In fact, if you look back 245 years to this very day, George Washington crossed the Potomac with 2,400 of his men, and thankfully, they won that battle, the Battle of Trenton. And that's why we're even on the Zoom, even having this conversation, because people have risked their life and men died 245 years ago to this day. And every generation has stepped up to overcome the challenges facing them. And now, again, it's our turn to do so. So talking about freedom, we're talking about budget. Our budget now is at 29 trillion. They just raised the debt ceiling to 31.5 trillion. When I ran for office, not that many years ago, not really, 12 years ago, guess where it was at? 13 trillion. And that's after now 245 years. I mean, this gets me worked up just to talk about it. It gets me livid, really, because we're stealing from future generations. It's not right. I don't care what the challenge is facing us. It's not right for us to steal from future generations for our own comfort today. The previous generations, I was just posted a story about a 105-year-old World War II veteran, the greatest generation, right? They sacrificed so the next generation could be better off. But we've got to turn this around, because we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're selfishly spending that which is not ours to spend. And so you can be assured, I growing up poor, again, I know the difference between wants and needs, between nice to have and wasting so much money and these bills were all full of all this pork and special interest. I'm not going to take from your children and my children. It's not right. So number 3, so I'll be a hawk on that. Number 3, borders. I'm compassionate. I'm a compassionate conservative. Okay, I care about those who are struggling. In fact, growing up, I slept on the floor for years, literally years on the floor on an LL Bean mat about that thick, because our family, even as poor as we were, believed in giving and helping, right? And people helped us, but we never took government assistance. I'm proud of that as a family. We didn't have Christmas gifts, didn't ask for Christmas gifts growing up. We didn't have the money for things like that. So I'm all for compassion, but you know what? You're not compassionate when you allow our borders to be open like they are now, where drugs are flowing across the borders at record levels. In fact, opioids, three times as much opioids are crossing the border this year as last year. Okay, we're talking about most of the opioids, guess where they're coming from? China. Do you know that? So across open borders, don't just come people, that are looking to get to America. We need to have a way, an legal way where people can come to our country, as has always been. But we don't have, we need to build the wall, secure the borders, and support our border agents, right? Because right now we have sex traffickers flowing across the borders. We got drugs flowing across. We've got terrorists coming across the borders. It's a major, major problem. We're almost at 2 million people crossing the borders just this year. It's insane. It's got to stop. And we need somebody who can compassionately talk about why it's in the best interest of everyone here in America. We are a melting pot. It's the best interest for everyone that we have secure borders. Education. We have 6 children. You're about to meet my wife here in just a moment. We have 6 children. We've used and so have my family grown up. We've used public school. I've got a son, a senior right now. We've used Christian education, and we've used homeschooling. In fact, we're about to be crisscrossing the state as a family, delivering this message, taking back the Senate, standing up for America. And we're going to do it as a family. We're going to crisscross and live in a bus. So we'll be homeschooling them during this next season. So we've used all those, and parents should have a choice. What we should not have, though, is CRT crammed down our children's throats. What we shouldn't have is this woke cancel culture being forced upon us. We're going to stand up to that. Together, we can overcome these challenges. And again, it's not just about me. I couldn't do this without my amazing wife. So I would like to, at this point, introduce to you my beautiful wife, Chelsea, who I've known since I was 5 years old. You'll see how blessed I am.
Hey guys, thank you so much for taking this time to join us for the meet and greet. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. I am so excited to talk a little bit about this guy here and kind of our family and why we are just ready to jump in together to fight this good fight. So, if you're like me, especially, well, I guess like any American, you have loved ones in your life. For us, we have 6 children and a lot of intermediate family that we just, we look at our neighbors, we look at what's going on, and knowing that our children's and your children's and loved ones' future is at risk. And I am just, we're all in as a family to fight the good fight, and to, like Josh just said, crisscross the state, love on Georgia, get to meet every one of you, and really just share our hearts and with you about what, we as a family believe, and a little bit about Josh. I've known him. It's all good. I've known him since I was 2 years old. And I think I fell in love with him right away because when I was 5, I told him I was going to marry him.
Lucky guy, yeah.
I know why that is, because I got to witness firsthand the heart that he has for others. And what he shared about how his mom and dad just instilled in him that, it's not about what you can get, it's about what you can give. And I just remember as a little girl watching him love on others, having a heart. I just remember, one Christmas, him asking if they could pick up the homeless on the way to Graham's, those who didn't have a Christmas. And I saw that firsthand. And then moving on, into the future, we got married, at a young age. I was 19, you were 22, and just starting a life together and knowing what it feels like to start with nothing, grow up with nothing, and really have that American dream. And it's at jeopardy right now for so many of us. And so, and I know for these future generations that are just being stolen from with this debt that we're seeing. So I'm excited about that. But one thing, with Josh having the energy to go out there and win, I know that for a fact, just having, just watching him and being a part of this journey together through marriage on mission and every part of life or journey that we've been on. I got to see him serve the state of Georgia firsthand. And, we campaigned together about 12 years ago. And he worked harder than anybody I've ever seen. He still does to this day, no matter what task is ahead. But I know that he's going to go down there. I've seen him already serve on a state level, and he did not get pressured into anything. He stuck with the conservative values he was raised with. He did not let pressure. He went down there with a backbone, and everybody knew, like, hey, you cannot push this guy around. That is exactly what we need in Washington right now. Somebody to get down there and know that we are not gambling on who we're putting in the Senate seat for 6 years. Somebody that has a backbone, a conservative track record. We know how they vote. We know what they believe in, because we can go and see that through his 4 years of serving the state of Georgia. And so I'm excited that I know I can send him down there. He's going to come back the same guy I fell in love with at 3 years old, or met to, fell in love with, and proposed to when I was 5. And he is going to serve honorably. He's going to affect Washington in a big way, in a positive way, and change it, and come back the husband, the dad, and the guy that everybody knows. So I am so proud of him for stepping up, and we're excited to do this journey together.
Thank you.
So we'll get to see you guys on the campaign trail soon.
Aren't I lucky? So you can see why I can step up and serve Georgia, because I'm blessed with an amazing wife. To be a part of this, together we can overcome. And that's our slogan, together. It's not just our family, even though we're all in on this. And we had a family meeting and talked about the sacrifices it would mean and what we'd have to cut out and to serve our country. But no sacrifice, though, begins to compare to those who have given their life for this country. And so, think about the people who signed the Declaration, and with it, they pledge their life, their sacred honor, their riches, everything. It's on the line. So I want to share with you a quick story, and we're going to close this up, wrap this up in just a moment. But it's kind of a joke. It's a story. It's a joke, really. But there's a purpose to this joke. So stay with me for a moment. When I first heard this over a decade ago, it really had an impact on me. So there was a senator, just so happens it was a senator, who was on his way to the Capitol, and he got hit by a Mack truck and died. So he gets before the pearly gates, and there's Peter, and Peter says, well, do you want to go to heaven or hell? And the senator said, well, gosh, I always hoped I'd make it to heaven. So yeah, I'll choose heaven. And he said, well, no, that's not how it works. Our policy is you spend a day in heaven, a day in hell, and then you make your decision. He said, well, if it has to be. So he goes down, 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 the doors open, and to his surprise, it's a beautiful golf course. And he sees his friend off in the distance. They're teeing up, and that night eating steak and caviar and drinking champagne and great old time. And the angel in this case, comes to him at the end and says, well, your time's up. It's time to go up to heaven. He says, wow, I can't imagine it being any better. Next thing you know, he's up there on the clouds and worshiping the Lord with the saints. And pretty soon his time's up. And the angel says, all right, it's time to make your decision. And he says, well, I never thought I'd say this, but seeing as that most of my friends are in hell, I think I'll choose hell. And the angel said, okay, but you understand that your decision, when you make it's final. He said, I understand. That's my final choice. So he goes down, 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 and the doors open, and to his horror, it's a trash land, a desert land, there's fires and friends dressed in rags. And you can imagine he's pretty upset. I mean, he's angry. He goes and he finds the devil, and he says, I don't understand what happened. The devil says, oh, that's easy to explain. Yesterday we were campaigning, and today you voted. So I share that joke, not just to be funny, but to say, let's choose wisely. I want to thank you for being here today, because obviously, again, you care about choosing wisely. And as Chelsea said, we're not in a time in our country, in our history, that I believe that you and I want to roll the dice. All the candidates in this case, in this race, none of them have any legislative experience. Now, I'm sure they're all great, nice people. But right now, as Chelsea said, we need somebody who's proven, has a conservative track record, who's served in the legislature. And now we're running for the highest legislature in the land. It's 6 years. You can do a lot of good or a lot of harm. And, the celebrity in this race, nice guy, my childhood hero. But, for example, just last summer, in a 1-minute video, he goes on and on talking about how the Constitution was written for a bygone era and that we need to change it because of changing demographics. Now, my question is, what do changing demographics have to do with changing the Constitution? And that's where you can be confident that when you send me there, that I'm not just another nice guy, but by God's grace, I will fight for you and I'll fight for the Constitution. I understand it. And I understand the enumerated powers and we'll make sure that the federal government is reined in and stays in their lane. And so I hope you'll give me the privilege to go out there and serve you, to fight for you, to stand up for America. And I'd like to ask you to do something. I can't do this alone. As you heard from my wife and I, we're all in. We can't do it alone. There's 3 things I'd like to ask you to consider, prayerfully consider. And if it makes sense, will you do it right away? Number 1 is, will you pray for us? We need your prayers. Number 2, will you give $10 or more? Even small gifts. Yes, we love it when people can give the max amount, $8,700. But most people are going to give small amounts, and that's important. We need a grassroots movement of people that come together that will give even small amounts, help buy yard signs, send out mailers, fuel our bus as we crisscross the state. And the third thing is, this is really important. We need to ask you, will you consider stepping up as a patriot and become what we call Minutemen and Minutewomen? They helped us win this country 245 years ago, right? But will you step up and will you commit right now to inviting 3 people to take a look at this campaign? And then ask those 3 people to do the same. And if we can just duplicate that 3 times, you'll reach 81 people. And you might do much more than that. And the sooner you do it, the better. But will you do those? Will you pray? Will you give $10 or more? And will you ask 3 people to check out our campaign? If you do that, we're going to win together. And we're going to win for Georgia, and we're going to win for this country, because this is the most important election this year in the country. If we want to stop Biden, we win this 1 seat. We take back the Senate. We stop Biden's radical socialist big government agenda in its tracks. And now I want to leave you with this, a patriot's pledge. This was found in the pocket of a patriot who gave his life in World War I. And in his pocket, he carried this piece of paper. It said, "America must win this war. Therefore, I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure, I will fight cheerfully, and I will do my utmost as if the entire issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone." That's my commitment. That's my commitment. I will do that. Will you do that? Will you join us? We need your help. Together, we can overcome. We can take back America. We can save America for the next generation so we can pass it on to them better than we found it, as previous generations have done. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for your time today. And now, if there are any comments or questions, feel free you can go to the Facebook live broadcast. Many of you are watching this there. You feel free to comment. Be happy to get back with you, and look forward to earning your support. Take care. God bless. And we'll be doing this every Sunday. So invite your friends and family to check out the live broadcast on our Facebook page, or to join us next Sunday, same time, same place. Thank you so much. You can go to votejosh.com, votejosh.com. Click on the social media links to follow and get involved. Take care. God bless.